What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the world according to Briggs. Let's take a look at Florida. Affordable housing in nice places is getting harder and harder to find these days. Today, we will list 10 places in Florida that are affordable and still a nice place to live. What is affordable? Well, that would be places that have a cost of living and housing that are around the national average. More than likely, they'll be below the national average. What's a nice place to live? That's going to be a place with a crime rate and unemployment that are below the national average as well. We'll also look at how the locals grade their town or their neighborhood. Let's take a look. Number 10, Tavares, Florida. Tavares is a city just north of Orlando in the Orlando metro area. This city has a bunch of newer construction with some 55 and older communities like Royal Harbor. It's also surrounded by lakes. It's like sandwiched in between 4 of them, like so much of this part of Florida. So make sure if you're out walking your Labradoodle at night, it doesn't get snatched up by an alligator. I'm not joking. That happens in Florida. I see YouTube videos about it all the time. I mean, it's not like a daily occurrence, but it happens. The population of Tavares was 19,000 in the 2020 census, which is up from 14,000 in 2010. So they're growing. They have a really low crime rate. It's 42% lower than the national average. Their violent crime rate's 38% lower, and property crime is also 42% lower. Now, that's what's really cool. It's a nice place to live, and their cost of living is 13% below the national average, and housing is actually 34% below the national average. The average home here, just eyeballing it on Zillow, is about $250,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and that'll get you a decent place. If you want to build your own place, maybe in one of the communities, you could buy a lot for like $100,000 right now, all the way up to $2 million. There are a couple homes for the $900,000 range, so like all places, it can go up pretty quick. The unemployment rate here is 20% below the national average, and the locals grade it as a B+ as a place to live. Here's your brain check question. Fireball Roberts was born in Tavares, Florida. What 2 sports was he involved in? Number 9, Del Rio, Jacksonville, Florida. So this is our first trip to Jacksonville. Jacksonville, in a lot of cases, gets a bad reputation, like every metro area. It's a metro area, you're gonna have some crime, you're gonna have some poverty, but this part of Jacksonville is doing pretty good. Del Rio is a nice, quiet, rural feeling area. It's close to pretty much anything you want, so that makes it kind of cool. It's rural, sort of, but it's still close to things. It's a definite plus. They got a population of almost 13,000, and their crime rate is 50% lower than the national average. Violent crime rate is actually 54% lower, and property crime is 49% lower. So that's great all the way around. Their cost of living is 10% lower than the national average, and housing is 19% lower. That's not bad. Now, just glancing at Zillow and not really getting in depth numbers, you're probably gonna be looking at around $350,000 for a decent house. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Keep in mind it's a big city, so, prices are gonna be a little bit higher than moving out to the sticks. There are a handful of homes in this neighborhood that go for around $1 million, $2 million. The unemployment rate here is 14% lower than the national average. That is not bad. Number 8, St. Cloud, Florida. St. Cloud is another interesting place in Florida. First of all, it is on the south side of the Orlando metro area and has about 45,000 residents. Again, it has lakes everywhere and golf courses are always nearby. That's just how Florida is. St. Cloud started off as a retirement community for Confederate soldiers after the Civil War. Yeah, that's where they all moved, down, limping down with one leg and one arm, whatever their case may be. That's how this community started, and now it's a full-blown city. Their total crime rate is about 48% lower than the national average. Violent crime rate's 55% lower, and property crime 46% lower. Their overall cost of living is 7% lower than the national average, and housing is about 16% lower. This is a nicer place, so their typical home is going to go for around $400,000. You find homes there for about $650 on up. Their unemployment rate is even with the national average. This is not a bad place to live if you don't mind mosquitoes and the occasional hurricane that comes through and takes your roof off your house and puts it in the lake. Number 7, Port Orange, Florida. Port Orange is in between St. Augustine and Cocoa Beach on the east side of Florida, right next to a beach community with one of the worst town names I've ever seen, Wilbur by the Sea. It's like they threw that by the sea trying to make the place sound all classy. You can't make the name Wilbur sound classy. It's impossible. Wilbur to most Americans is a talking pig in Charlotte's Web. That's all there is to it. Change your name. My name's Wilbur. Port Orange is pretty good. I mean, they have a lot of oranges in Florida. Port Orange is part of the Daytona Beach metro area, and it's got a population of about 62,000 residents. And those residents enjoy a total crime rate that's 35% lower than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 80% lower, and property crime is 26% lower. Their overall cost of living is graded a B- with 6% lower than the national average. Housing's 11% lower than the national average. That is great for being a city so close to the ocean. The average home you're looking at, just by eyeballing it, it looks like it's about $320,000. We'll get you something decent. There are homes here for, like $2 million, so be prepared for that if you're looking. The unemployment rate here is 45% lower than the national average. Not bad, Port Orange, not bad. Number 6, Longwood, Florida. Longwood's been around a while, but really picked up steam during World War II. It remained a naval air station until 1969 when they turned it over to the city of Sanford. Now it's the Orlando Sanford International Airport. I've flown into that airport before. It's not that cool of an airport. Not the worst, but I definitely didn't like it. Longwood is in between Orlando and Sanford, right near Lake Jessup, in case you're looking for it. It is home to just over 15,000 residents. Their total crime rate is 19% lower than the national average. Violent crime rate is 35% lower, and property crime 16% lower. Their overall cost of living is 4% lower than the national average. This is not a bad place to live. It's a little more expensive than some of the other places on this list. Their housing is about 6% below the national average. The average home price, just by looking at it, goes for about $260,000. It can range up to about $310,000 to get something a little bit better. There are a few homes here that go for the $700,000 to $800,000 area. They actually have an open lot, huge lot, that's $1.1 million right now. One negative about Longwood is their unemployment rate is about 20% higher than the national average. Number 5, Oldsmar, Florida. Oldsmar has a population of just under 15,000 residents, and it sits on the shores of Tampa Bay. I should say Old Tampa Bay if you're getting technical. This one gets a little explanation. This is a coastal town or beach town, whatever you want to call it, so it's going to be more expensive than most of the places on this list. But you're getting the beach, and we all know that's going to be a little more expensive. All the other stats are pretty good. Total crime rate is 41% lower than the national average. Violent crime rate is 63% lower. Property crime is 37% lower. Their overall cost of living is 2% lower than the national average, and their housing is 4% lower than the national average. But if you're going to be looking for a decent place to live here, they got plenty of things that are cheaper, like in the $300,000 range. But if you want something decent, you're looking at $500,000 and above, which, that's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. There are homes here that are right on the water that'll go for about $2 million, so keep that in mind. The unemployment rate here is 2% above the national average. So this is a really nice place to live. It's just a little more expensive than some of the other ones on this list. Number 4, Rockledge, Florida. Rockledge is on Florida's east coast and just west of Cape Canaveral. The name Rockledge comes from one of the early settlers who started calling it that because the Indian River flows right by town and it had rock ledges, so they named it Rockledge. Rock ledges, Rockledge. Not very creative, but it stuck. Rockledge has a population of almost 28,000 residents. Their total crime rate is 40% lower than the national average. That's pretty good. Violent crime rate 46% lower, and property crime 39% lower. Their cost of living is 5% lower than the national average. This is pretty good for a place that's got waterfront property. Housing is 9% lower. Again, great. Average home price here is about $310,000 for a 3 or 4 bedroom, but that's just eyeballing it. It goes a lot higher. They have houses that occasionally pop up on the market that are over $1 million. The employment rate here, again, 20% higher than the national average. So that's the only negative. Number 3, Secret Cove, Jacksonville, Florida. So this is a neighborhood in Jacksonville, obviously. What really stuck out about this place is the locals love it. It has great reviews from people that live there. In the last census, there was a little over 7,000 residents living here, and they enjoyed really low crime rate, 56% lower than the national average. Violent crime rates 54% lower. Property crime 57% lower. Their overall cost of living is 2% above the national average, and housing is 3% above the national average. Now, they have a good mix of homes. You have duplexes, condos, all that stuff, and homes by themselves. So they got a good range of prices here, but looking around, you can get in here for about $220,000 for like a 2-bedroom condo. The unemployment rate here is 31% lower than the national average. Everyone works here. Number 2, Winter Spring, Florida. Right next to Longwood from earlier on the list, you have Winter Spring. It sits on the north side of the Orlando metro area, right on Lake Jessup. There's a lot of fishing going on Lake Jessup too, by the way. If that's your thing, it's even more of a reason to move here. Winter Spring has a population of just over 36,000 residents. Their total crime rate is 60% lower than the national average. Violent crime rate, 55% lower, and property crime, 61% lower. Their cost of living is 2% above the national average, not bad, and their housing is 11% above the national average. Looking at a home there, you're probably looking around $430,000 to get something nice, but they have plenty of homes here for over $1 million. If you get anything lower than, I'd say, the 350 range, you're going to need some work. Probably a lot of work. The unemployment rate here is only 5% above the national average. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There's a link down below and the answer to our brain check question. Fireball Roberts was a NASCAR driver, but he got the nickname because he was a minor league baseball player and he had a fastball that was pretty fast. They called it a fireball. Sadly, he died in a race in 1964 in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is what really sucks. He died in a fireball. Not even kidding. His car flipped over and burst into flames. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Northport, Florida. Northport, Florida is south of Sarasota, Florida, and north of Fort Myers, kind of right there in the middle. Side note, probably about 2 years ago, I did a video and I said Fort Myer. I said Fort Myers like 3 different times, but one time I said Fort Myer. I don't know what it is with the people in Fort Myers. They lost their minds. Oh my God, I was getting threats over it. It was so weird. Anyway, Northport is a great place to live. They have a little bit over 66,000 residents, so it's a good-sized place with a crime rate that's 49% lower than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 58% lower, property crime 48% lower. Their overall cost of living is 2% below the national average, and their housing is 13% lower than the national average. They have everything from mobile homes to condos to duplexes to single-family homes. So you've got a good variety here, and there's always good stuff for sale. Just kind of eyeballing it, they say the median price range here is about $400,000. There's plenty of good stuff in the $300,000 area that's worth living in, and you could move right in. You're not gonna have to do a bunch of work. You will find some places, like mobile homes that are about $100,000. So you've got a wide variety to choose from. The stats here are great. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.